Hey everybody, welcome back to Cityscape Brewing. I'm Dennis Fields, and today we're going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of the Celebration Ale from Sierra Nevada with the clone that I did a couple of weeks ago in my last video. So if you haven't checked that out, I'm going to have that video in the link description below. It has the full recipe that I used and everything from full brew day process explained step by step as we go through the full brew day. So go ahead and check that video out. I'm gonna go do a side-by-side. I'm gonna pour these. I haven't compared them yet. I haven't tasted them side-by-side. I've tasted them separately, and I'm telling you what, so far, I think it's gonna be neck and neck. So grab yourself a beer, hit that like and subscribe button, and we're gonna get after it after this. All right. We're back with the two sample beers right here. They actually look almost identical. Color-wise and clarity-wise, I literally couldn't tell these two apart if they were side by side and someone mixed them up in front of me. I was really trying to be nitpicky and say that one was a little bit more than the other, but holding them up to some light and really taking a look at them, they're almost identical. Actually, one has a little bit more clarity, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But out of the two, we're going to taste test these side by side, and they almost look identical. The head color and the color of the beer, I mean, this is as close as it gets for two different beers, right? I mean, it's the same beer, but a brew that I didn't have the exact same recipe for and that I just was really using, you know, some other clone recipes online. I also used some information off of their own website to get an idea of what type of grains that they use and what kind of hops that they use. I knew the hops that they were going to use for this particular beer, but I didn't know at what amounts, right? So Sierra Nevada has two of their recipes on their website, the Pale Ale and the Torpedo IPA, but they do not have this one particularly. But understanding how they brew those two other beers, which are very similar to this one as far as pale ales anyway are concerned, I kind of mimic that. The head retention, as we've been talking and as I poured these beers, are almost actually identical also. They're holding a good head on the top, but they're dissipated about the same amount since we've been talking, and boy, I so far, looking at them, they're virtually identical. And so I'm really happy appearance-wise of how this has turned out. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better showing as far as what it visually looks like, but the taste is the whole thing, right? So let's go ahead. I'm gonna reveal the one that I did, which is this one over here. So if you're guessing this one, this is the one that I brewed. This is the actual Sierra Nevada out of this can and one other, just to make the volume about the same. And so, but realistically, when I'm holding them up to the light over here, they're very, very close. I mean, I really can't tell a difference. And if I had to be super nitpicky about it, I might even pick mine as a little more clear. And I credit that to kind of giving an extra week of conditioning and just letting that kind of sit, because I think everybody gets a little bit of chill haze. This was super, super clear when I transferred it out of the secondary into the keg. I actually put a picture with my hydrometer in the hydrometer reading tube. And the thing was, I mean, I could have read a newspaper through it, right? And so it was super clear. And it gets a little bit of chill haze, but I was actually impressed when I poured one of these beers. I said, you know, man, it's not as clear as what it was in the tube for the hydrometer, but it's almost as clear as it was. And when I poured this can, I was surprised to see that it wasn't more clear. I mean, typically when I do a side by side, I mean the commercial beers are crystal clear, and in this case they're identical. So the little bit of chill haze I got is the exact same as what Sierra Nevada actually gets in their can. So very happy to see appearance-wise. So let's go ahead and check these things out. First, we're going to do the aroma test. We're going to do a little drive-by. I think they're probably very similar too. I probably get a little bit of more perceived hops with the original, but they're pretty close. I mean, I'm trying to do this again. And again, I didn't do it right as I poured it. So maybe I could have done this right away. But so far, I think the aromas are very, very similar. I can smell some hop characters. I don't think this is over the top for what this is trying to go for as far as style. So I don't think that either one of them are trying to be very aromatic as far as a beer is concerned. But so far they're very, very similar. If I had to give a winner though, I'd probably pick the original as far as aroma is concerned between the two of them. So let's go ahead and do a little taste test side by side. That is the beer that I brewed. And then the original Sierra Nevada. Man, that is so close. There's one difference that I can taste that I could probably pick out 9 times out of 10 if you could put them side by side. And the one thing is that, and I'm just gonna taste again just to make sure I'm right. Yeah, I'm right. So the one thing I can pick out between the two of them is the original Sierra Nevada, the actual Sierra Nevada, which is this one here, is a little bit more bitter right off the bat than this one. The flavor though is like, the malt flavor is spot on. I mean, it's incredible how close it is. I mean, I think I nailed that one. Not to pat myself on my own back, but I mean, honestly, I think really it's just the amount of perceived bitterness that you get between the two of them. I think this one has a little bit of actual bitterness compared to this one. Is a little bit more malty, but the malt flavor is the same. And I think if we kicked up the bitterness a little bit in mine, it actually would turn out perfectly. And it's not much. I mean, this is slight. If you were to take this one and then somebody poured you this beer right afterwards, you would think it's the same beer. Yeah, I mean, a little bit more bitter and a little bit more malty, but man, it's so close. I mean, it's so close. The flavor though is right there. I mean, this is as close of a beer as I've ever done as far as a clone recipe without actually having the real recipe. I've done a lot of Bell's Two Hearted and a different number of Bell's beers where they actually have the recipe printed on their website, and I can do like the same beer with their actual yeast from their bottle. So it's basically mimicking the exact recipe. So you have like zero room for error. This one, pulling on kind of out of a hat of mixing different clone recipes I found online and some information from their website, this is as close of a beer as it gets. And so looking back at my recipe here, I did, for bittering hops, I did Chinook at 60 minutes and I did Cascade at 30 minutes. The rest were Whirlpool, and I did 2 ounces Cascade and Centennial in dry hopping. So dry hopping, the original comes through a little bit more as far as aromatics and stuff, but I think they're both flavor-wise about the same as far as hop character goes. But bitterness, I think the original is still a little bit more bitter, which means the Chinook and Cascade that I did at 60 minutes and then the Cascade at 30 minutes, I think we could probably up the Cascade to, maybe 40 minutes or so, or 45 minutes, and it might match that little level of bitterness. But to be honest with you, like, bitterness to me is a hit or miss. If you have a great tasting beer, it can be overly bitter and it can be or too little bitterness, right? So in this case, I think this is the perfect amount of bitterness, the original. And so I would actually probably, if I did this same recipe again, which I'm totally gonna do that because it's very, very delicious, I'm probably gonna up the Cascade by 10 or 15 minutes. And only because I want to try and mimic this exact beer. I think this beer does it. I mean, this 9 out of 10 times, this beer is fantastic. It's a great winter beer, especially for those who like IPAs around the wintertime. You're gonna find a lot of darker beers and different style beers in the wintertime for folks who like, to branch out. But if you're IPA or a pale ale kind of a go-to guy like I am, this is a great winter beer. And this is what go-to if I see it on a tap list or even in the store. I'm going to grab some of this stuff during December and have it with friends and family as they come over. But I tell you what, we're going to crush the crap out of this one because this is really good. It's really, really common. I mean, even now, even sitting here, the head retention on the glasses, the lacing, as you can tell, is identical. If anything, mine is actually a little bit better on this one than it is here, and probably because this has been brewed for a little while. I don't know what the born on date of this is. This is October 7th, so it's been honestly sitting for a few months. It's now November. It's probably 2 months in the can. I mean, this Sierra Nevada, you know, I don't expect it to go bad that long, especially a pale ale. So I'm sure as fresher beer, you'd probably get a little bit more aromatics. I let this sit an additional week on mine than I normally would have, and so maybe I would have gotten that. So the two things I probably would change overall in this recipe is I'd probably up the 30-minute addition of Cascade. I'd probably up that to 40 minutes. I'd probably keep the amounts the same. If you wanted to keep it at 30 minutes and just up it to like, you know, 1.25 ounces or something like that. And I should say, the other second thing, if you want a little bit more aromatics or a little more aroma, again, they're about the same now. But when you first pour them, I think you could probably up the dry hopping a smidge. But I honestly don't think I would really change much at all. And this isn't to toot my own horn, but man, to say that I got this one as close as I possibly could. When I first poured this the other day, I thought this is a little cloudy. It's gonna appear a lot different than this beer. And man, just holding them up to the light here, and it's really hard to tell on camera, I get that, but holding them up to the light, it's really difficult to tell which is which. And mine actually might have a little bit more clarity. I'm super proud of this beer. I mean, if you haven't made this yet, you need to check out that video in the link description and go brew this for yourself. This is a spot on recipe, I think. I mean, I don't know the exact recipe that Sierra Nevada uses, but if you can get a beer to taste the exact same way, it's basically a spot on recipe. So go ahead and try this one out. Also, if you do get that chill haze right away, which I was kind of worried about right away, and that's why I let it sit another week or so, chill haze is common. Sometimes you can get a really, really clear beer in your hydrometer reading, and then all of a sudden you go and keg it and you get chill haze, and all of a sudden it's really cloudy. Well, you can add gelatin to your beer. Gelatin's super easy, super inexpensive. You can go buy a little packet of gelatin at the store for under $1 for like 4 packets, right? Knox gelatin at the grocery store, or you know, wherever you get gelatin. It's just the unflavored gelatin. I have a video on how to add gelatin to a beer. So if you do want to enter something like this into a competition, all of a sudden it's super clear and then it gets really hazy, go ahead and add gelatin to the keg, let it sit for 24 hours. It'll drop all that particles, extra hop, proteins, that kind of stuff down to the bottom. And then you pour your first couple pints out, get that gelatin off the bottom of the keg, and then you go ahead and you pour a crystal clear beer like this one. But time also does that. So like this one, I let it sit another week, and now it's identical and probably where it should be as far as this beer is concerned. So to be honest with you, I'm very happy with this beer. I'm gonna go ahead and share this with a lot of friends and family and neighbors that are gonna come over for the holidays. We're gonna drink this thing constantly. So go ahead and do yourself a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. If you haven't already, go check out that brew day that I did on the Celebration Ale. Cheers. Happy brewing. Thanks for watching my video. I really do appreciate it. Another couple ways that you can help support the channel is by hitting that like and subscribe button. You can also check out the merchandise in our store. I have other shirts. We got glassware, we got stickers, hats, sweatshirts, etc. Go check it out. Also, hit that video here. You know you want to.